Members of the Chamber Podcast is brought to you by Piper Foods and fueled by McCafe. If you're listening on your way to work, we encourage you to stop by any of the 6 Piper Foods McDonald's locations here in Oakville, or look them up on any McDelivery service. We thank Piper Foods for their generous support of our chamber and for everything they do in the community. The following podcast is an Oakville Chamber production. Learn the industry, grow your network, and connect to the community with the Members of the Chamber podcast, a weekly series where we sit down with esteemed business people making major moves here in Oakville. I'm your host, Rachel Liang, and this is Members of the Chamber. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Members of the Chamber. Next week, from April 15th to 19th, is National Tourism Week. To celebrate, Visit Oakville is here in the building to discuss how businesses, residents, and visitors can participate in the week, how businesses of all sizes can leverage the resources that Visit Oakville provides, trends they're seeing in the tourism industry, and more. Join me in welcoming Rebecca Edgar, Executive Director, and Councillor Sean O'Mara, Chair of the Board of Directors of Visit Oakville. So today on the podcast, we have Rebecca Edgar, Executive Director of Visit Oakville, and Sean O'Mara, Board Chair of Visit Oakville. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Now, to get started, can you tell us a bit about Visit Oakville itself and its role in promoting tourism in our town?
Sure, well, I can field that one. So Visit Oakville is our tourism marketing organization here for the town of Oakville. Started out of a small tourism partnership with the town of Oakville and has grown over the years, and with the help of some very able staff members like Rebecca as executive director here, basically to bring tourism stakeholder partners together and to promote tourism in Oakville. There's a lot to see and do in Oakville, and there's a great economic impact that tourism has throughout all municipalities and areas, and Oakville certainly has a lot to offer when it comes to tourism.
I think people, one of the things they're often interested or surprised to learn is that we are not-for-profit and we're an arm's length organization. We're not part of the town of Oakville, but we certainly work very closely with the town.
Very similar to the Chamber.
Exactly.
Now, to get to know each of you a little bit more, I'm going to dive into a couple more personal questions. So the first is, what is your favorite spot in Oakville? And the second is, in 2024, what is a must-see event or a must-do attraction?
You know, funny enough, I was just asked this question for this year's visitor guide.
Oh, perfect.
And I said one of my favorite spots, there are more than one.
Of
there
course.
are many, but I love Gerlach Gardens in the springtime.
Beautiful.
And when my daughter was growing up, we spent oodles of time there, walking the wall along the lake, looking for fish, looking for frogs. And it's just such a beautiful setting that the galleries has a location there is kind of icing on the cake. I can't think of a prettier spot, but Bronte is a close second.
Yeah, what many people might not know is my other hat is the Ward 1 Region and Town Councillor in Oakville here. So
yes.
That's the Bronte area. So any answer outside of Bronte gets me in trouble. So I know, in all honesty, I do live relatively close to the waterfront down in Bronte, and walking along that path and the Water's Edge path with your dog or with anybody in the summertime, stopping and getting an ice cream along the water, it is a sight to be seen, and it's always beautiful being near the water. So I thoroughly enjoy that vista, if you would
Yes.
you could call it that.
And I would say when you're in Bronte or Gerlach, make sure to take a trip afterwards to the business improvement areas closest
Yes.
to those and spend some time shopping and grabbing a great meal.
Now, moving on to the next question. Oakville has seen some really exciting developments in recent years. What are some of the standout tourism wins or initiatives that you are particularly proud of?
Well, I think that Oakville is very quickly becoming known for its sports tourism. We have some incredible sports infrastructure, from ice hockey arenas to football pitches. We're building a new cricket pitch in the north. We've really done well with our sport infrastructure, and I think that's been reflected by Curling Canada, it's been reflected by Hockey Canada, it's been reflected by Skate Canada, coming to take part in and have international events here in Oakville. I think, we've hosted the Canadian Open in the past for many years, as many of you know. I think there's a smallness but a largeness to our community, that you get that small town feel, but we can host large international events, and the community really rallies behind a lot of that. So our sport infrastructure has really transformed, I think, how a lot of tourism organizations in Oakville sort of promote themselves as well. So there's lots of opportunity to express and to get people to come back when they've been here for different organizations and sporting events.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely think Oakville's established its reputation as a sport hosting destination, and at the, there's the international and the national events that are coming in, but on a different level, the Oakville Rangers just hosted one of the largest, if not the largest, hockey tournament in Canada, and the economic impact that has on the town, filling all of our hotel rooms, the trickle-down effect to retailers and restaurants, it's immense, and we're grateful to have those kinds of organizations attracting tournaments into town.
Amazing. That's great. So not only is that something to be proud of as Visit Oakville, but it's really important for our economy here in the town.
Well, yeah, it's important for the economy, but I mean, there's a knock-on effect for the residents who lived here too. I mean, there's nothing like a young kid going and seeing an international athlete, or one of our claim to fame's Adam Van Couverden would go up and down the 16-mile creek and paddle, and the generation of young rowers and kayakers that have come out of Oakville, out of the canoe clubs here. I mean, it leaves a lasting legacy, and I think we've got the Centennial Cup coming up in Oakville here in May, and some of the young hockey players and the role models that they're going to be for a lot of the young residents here. It's an opportunity that not every municipality gets, or every tourism region gets to. So we kind of grab on with it with both hands and hope that it leaves a long-lasting legacy.
We've mentioned a little bit throughout the podcast so far the connection between tourism and local business. How does Visit Oakville collaborate with local businesses to enhance the overall visitor experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. And working with local businesses is really vital to delivering on our mission. We do a few different things. The most recent in memory was Taste of Oakville.
Yes.
Visit Oakville took over that event, or took over managing that event. It's working with a number of partners as well, including the Chamber.
Yes.
And that was the biggest event, we think, in the history of Taste of Oakville. We had 40 restaurants participating, and we see really great feedback from both visitors and residents, as well as the restaurants who participate. So that's one way. We also launched something called the Tourism Investment Fund a number of years ago. It was pre-COVID, and what the intention of the Tourism Investment Fund, or we like to call it the TIF, is to support new events, tourism-related events, or support the expansion of existing events. So that's another way we work with local businesses. And then the third is through our Talk of the Town Award. And we do that a number of times a year, develop a category, pick a category, ask residents to get involved in voting for different types of businesses, the best pizza place or best craft beer or that kind of thing. And we love it because it gets residents involved. I think visitors appreciate hearing from residents, from locals, on what they like to do.
Absolutely.
And what they would recommend. And it's another way to showcase local businesses.
Now, for small businesses in Oakville, how can they leverage the resources and support offered by Visit Oakville to attract more tourists to their establishments?
Well, first and foremost, reach out to us. Let us know where you're at, who you are. If you're a visitor-related organization, we're happy to partner with you. You can visit us at our website, visitoakville.com, and you can send us your information, contact information. The first thing we do is try to get related businesses up on our website so that we're able to promote them that way, and then help them, learn about the other opportunities, some of which we've talked about already. info@visitoakville.com is an email you can reach out to. But check us out, and we'll work with you to help either launch or promote your business.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to just reflect on what is tourism, and we've had this discussion many times around our board table, and a business that offers something to someone can generate trips to that municipality, can generate action and go viral at a moment's notice. So I think our common sense of what tourism is, walking around in a, staying in a hotel and going to a restaurant. I mean, it's not necessarily like that anymore. There's a number of reasons why people visit municipalities. There's a number of reasons why people go to different places. And a lot of that does have to do with unique businesses and unique places to visit and to venture into. And we're open for all types of those conversations because, again, we don't really know what every single business in Oakville does. And we're here to champion and echo that voice, but we need to hear that voice too. And so, hey, look, there's an incredible, dress store that people are coming from all over Southern Ontario to visit. And I wouldn't know that personally, right. Maybe, but we can certainly amplify that. And we have the resources and the connections, not just in this community, but through the tourism industry, sort of in the GTHA to sort of help amplify that. So just echoing what Rebecca was said about let us know, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And
Perfect.
To that point too, that's leads me to thinking about feedback and how important it is to hear from the businesses and the organizations that we partner with. And we seek out their feedback through a number of different ways. We do surveys, we'll do interviews, different research projects. And we look to those organizations to inform our decision making. And one of the things we do, for example, is we reach out to hotels to understand when their slower times are. So those are periods where we might look at launching marketing campaigns or
right.
Try to attract events in for those slower times to keep a little bit more, of an even keel throughout the year, and recognizing that Oakville is a great place to visit all 4 seasons.
Yes, absolutely. Now, on the other side, for the larger businesses in Oakville, how can they collaborate with Visit Oakville to support sustainable tourism practices and community development initiatives here in the town?
I think, thinking of Centennial Cup right now and some of the other larger events, financial support is important to a lot of these tourism-related events. And if there is sponsorship opportunities, those big organizations often have budget that the smaller guys just don't have. Partnerships on environmental projects. Work together with the town to support the protection and preservation of natural resources in the community. And I think we're seeing, it's not a trend, it's here to stay, but sustainability in tourism is extremely important for both visitors. Visitors are seeking that out, but it's important to residents as well. Integration of sustainable practices, support for community development programs. We see this, we work closely with the Caribbean Association of Halton, and they do some amazing youth initiatives. Business can get involved in supporting those sort of initiatives, as well as cultural preservation. And that, I think, speaks to the different pillars of sustainability as well, but support of projects aimed at preserving and celebrating the town's cultural heritage.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the large companies in Oakville too, I mean, they've got a captive audience there. You've got employees, and I know a lot of those businesses are looking at ways to engage their employees better. And, you don't have to go far. You don't need to go to a retreat somewhere in Toronto or whatever. I mean, we've got a lot here in Oakville that you can access and that can bring your employees and their families together. I know Oakville Hydro does a tree planting thing every year, and we pick a spot and they go and they plant trees, and they're engaging, and it's community sustainability. But a lot of people enjoy doing that too, and I think Oakville, with its rich sort of natural environment and its urban river valleys, it offers a lot of opportunities to partake in that. We do Earth Day cleanups coming up as well in April. There's a lot of real estate teams, large real estate teams, and they get together and organize a lot of that in the community. And I think it makes cohesiveness as well, which adds to the lore of Oakville, right? And yes. How we all sort of pitch in and we do what's necessary. And I think a lot of those big businesses can help sort of spur that along a bit and bring in some responsible ways to bring their employees and their communities together and sort of highlight all that Oakville has to offer.
I think that also speaks to pride of place that we talk about in tourism quite often. People, and we see this when we post for board positions, for example, we'll get responses from people who say, I just want to give back to the town. And so there's a real feeling of community and just that desire to participate and support in community development. And from a tourism standpoint, I think people love to have their friends and family here and show off the town.
Yes,
we're proud
absolutely.
of it. We like to share it. And to Sean's point, some of those larger organizations can help facilitate different ways of sharing it.
Now, we discussed this a little bit already, but maybe if you have anything to expand on, could you share some insights into the current trends or shifts that you're seeing in tourism from the Visit Oakville perspective?
I think people are looking for authentic experiences. Yes. They're looking for something that's not manufactured. They're looking for connections. And I think Rebecca just mentioned pride of place, but I think there's a sense of people wanting to sort of get back to a time where, you can enjoy nature. You don't have to spend money to go and buy yourself a good time. You can go for a walk. You can go for a hike. You can go for a bike ride. You can go to the Maple Syrup Festival at Brawny Provincial Creek. You can partake in a lot of things that to be quite honest, we've taken for granted over a number of years. And I think there's an authenticity to that people are seeking. And I know a lot of people are chasing those experiences. I mean, you go down to Niagara right now to do a wine tour. Half the people aren't driving anymore. They're biking, right? From one place to another place. And I think there's a nostalgia there of a different time to slow down the pace of your experience, right? We rush through life a lot, and I think any opportunity we can have to just take a moment to reflect on the time that you're in and where you are is what people are looking for, and I think that anything we can do to help facilitate that is a plus. That's a little 2 cents that I see.
No, you're checking off all the points. Perfect. I was still stuck on how do you go on a wine tour and then ride a bike? But that's a talent.
There must be a way.
There is a way. Yeah. I think too we really saw that post-COVID was people wanting to connect with nature. Yes. Experience the outdoors. We see it on our trails and in our parks. And to Sean's point, that authentic connection is really important. I think another thing we've seen is an interest in culinary and cultural tourism as well. And we have that in spades, and it's figuring out how to best showcase and present it and tell stories around it that interest people and attract people.
And even to go along with that too, part of the TIF funding or Tourism Investment Fund, there's been a desire for events, and people want to go back and congregate together, and whether it's a music festival or a dining experience or the British Car Show, they want to go out and ensure that they're celebrating life with other people, and we're seeing a real demand for local community events, not necessarily these monolith town-wide massive things, but people want to go and walk down to a regional market or an art fair or these sorts of things, and I think that is something that we can really sort of capitalize on as a tourism organization in Oakville, because we can help support those small events that are happening around the community, and I think that's something that we've heard from a lot of people they enjoy.
Now, we talked about that nostalgia for going out and riding your bike, the desire for that in-person connection, the smaller, more intimate events. In contrast to that is the rise of the digital realm, if you will. With the rise of that and the power of social media nowadays, how has Visit Oakville adapted its strategies to reach and engage with new potential visitors online?
Yeah, that's a great question. Rachel, we have a really active social media presence. We're almost at, maybe by the time this airs, 10,000 Instagram followers.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. That's a big milestone.
That'll change from the full number to the 10K
right.
on Instagram. That's fantastic.
We might have to get checked or verified or...
Yeah, absolutely.
We are really focused on content marketing, so blogs and videos. Quick hit videos are key.
They are. They absolutely are.
And I think, I mentioned before, telling stories that people can relate to, authentic stories about how people have experienced Oakville as a destination and how residents enjoy it. And so we're really have turned our focus away from sort of that traditional marketing
yes,
to storytelling.
Fantastic.
And hence, like what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was in the car over Easter with my family, and we're driving, and there's nothing on the radio.
Yeah.
And there's your phone. Like, let's go listen to a podcast.
Right.
Now, part of the thing is you need to suck people into the podcast. So
Yes.
Rebecca can say something very, very edgy right now, and we can make it viral, and everybody go, let's get to that minute where Rebecca says
Yeah,
something
exactly.
very controversial.
Oh, now I'm stuck.
Yes.
Now, one thing that I would be interested to know, a lot of our members are exploring the kind of digital marketing world, content strategy, social media. Has Visit Oakville done any sort of influencer marketing or explored that at all? Or what's your experience?
How did you know that was a point I hadn't got to? That was amazing. Foresight. We've done a lot more influencer marketing over the last couple of years, and it aligns nicely with the storytelling piece. We'll partner, well, I should say to members, probably the most challenging thing about influencer campaigns is finding the right influencer.
Right.
You really need to spend the time on the back end figuring out who's a good fit for your brand, and also who's going to reach the right market segments for you. That can be tricky and a bit overwhelming, but if you spend some time there, you can find some great partners who can help get your story out in, again, an authentic way. They'll come into town, they'll stay overnight, they'll experience different attractions while they're here. During Taste, we worked with, I think, 4 or 5 different influencers. And again, reaching out to different segments, different markets, and the response is really very positive and cost effective. And I think that's probably important for small businesses to know too, that when you hear influencer campaign, it sounds fancy.
Yeah.
But you can do it lower end budget and still have great impact.
Fantastic. That's great advice. Now, this podcast will be coming out during National Tourism Week. How can local Oakville businesses participate in the week?
Very appropriate, isn't it? Good timing on our part. We'll be doing a number of different online giveaways and showcasing different types of businesses during the week. So I would encourage everybody to check out the website and keep an eye there. I think it's a great opportunity for local businesses to showcase its offerings. Let people know through your channels, social channels, and by all means tag us so we can help amplify your message. But if businesses have any special offering for visitors during the week, or there's anything they want to showcase in relation to tourism, put it out there, and again, let us know so that we can help you get your message out. And businesses can also participate in promotional offers and packages. So special promotions to explore Oakville during National Tourism Week is maybe one idea. If there's any events or activities, participate in the events coming up. Partnerships, we're big on collaborations with other local businesses to create joint initiatives. So team up together. And social media campaigns, which I mentioned. And support other tourism organizations. Attend events. We're going to be hosting an after-hours event with the Chamber.
Yes, we're very excited.
Coming up at Puck's Pub at 16 Mile Sport Complex.
And you can scope out where you're going to sit for the Centennial Cup when it comes to. It overlooks both ice rinks on the east and west side of the pub. It's situated right in the middle, and you can get ready and rev up your engines for some of the best junior hockey that this country has to offer.
Perfect. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, it's going to be a really cool business after hours. Great location. Very exciting.
The awesome thing about there too is it's instant entertainment, because no matter
Yes.
which way you look, there's something fascinating going on. There's like national Canadian figure skaters practicing, or there's junior hockey players practicing. Always something to watch while you're there.
Yeah, very cool. Now, we spoke a little bit about some of the really cool history and tourism facts, if you will, about Oakville. Can you tell us a bit about maybe one or two really interesting ones that Oakville has?
About sort of tourism related,
tourism
iconic
facts.
Moments.
Yeah, iconic moments, places to visit, history, things like that.
Well, I will give you one that I was personally involved in. I want to say it was 2006, but it is known as The Shot. Okay. And it was with Tiger Woods, 6-iron out of a bunker, 211 yards into the 18th green to win. And it was so dark outside, and I was 15 feet up the side of the green. And it was so dark, and it doesn't look this way on TV, but you couldn't see the ball. And all you heard as the shot came in was this thud. and then it rolled, and the camera flashes went off like lightning, and you were watching the ball just trickle past the hole just from the flashes of the camera. And thousands of people just rushed and went right up to the green to watch what they had just just witnessed. And on the 18th tee box, there is still a plaque there at the tee box that explains the shot and what he pulled off. And many people think that they put their ball in that bunker and they try to get a 6-iron out. And I can't even count the number of balls that are sitting in the bottom of the pond right there from people trying to replay that shot. But that is a classic in the PGA legend and lore that lives right here in Oakville.
That's incredible. And that was at Glen Abbey?
It was at Glen Abbey, yeah.
Fantastic. We do our golf tournament actually coming up in May at Glen Abbey, so I will definitely have to go take a look, not only at the plaque, but maybe at the pond and see some of the balls.
Bring yourself a Pro V and see if you can do it outside of the bunker there.
I'd have to take a couple sleeves of Pro V.
Yeah. Me as well.
That one was too interesting. I was thinking different level, but I was thinking one of the things that comes up over and over again in our research around the board table from residents and from visitors alike is the love for our waterfront.
Yes.
And we're so fortunate to I have a note, 31 kilometers of waterfront, including some spectacular parks. Well, I talked about Gairloch, but there's many more, Coronation and Tannery, and so many ways to enjoy the waterfront. But it comes up over and over again as being such a key part of Oakville's identity.
Absolutely.
And I think it's something that people love about living here and visiting here.
Now, one thing that came up for me as well is when I first came to Oakville, one thing I didn't know was the historical significance of Oakville and the Underground Railroad. There's so much history there. And I know at Oakville Museum, there's a lot of resources to kind of learn more about that. But if people don't know about that, that's another great piece of history to learn about here in Oakville.
It is. And, even in the downtown area, which is a designated cultural heritage area, one thing you can do is just walk up and down the streets down there and you can read all the plaques of the people who lived in these homes for 100 years ago, 150 years ago. And a lot of them had a lot to do with the Underground Railroad and getting people up to Canada safe. And the Hercules Museum has an incredible exhibit going on right now which as a board, we went and visited last year, I think, mm-hmm. Yeah, and got a great tour and an understanding of the breadth and the history that we have here in Oakville of trying to help people in the slave trade reach freedom, and it's an incredible history here, and it's a nice stroll down by the water to see some of these houses and see the museum and understand a little bit more of our history that way.
Now, as we get closer to the end of the podcast, are there any other attractions or local things to do that you would want to highlight for our listeners?
I think we've mentioned quite a few. Sean mentioned Centennial Cup coming up, so mark your calendars for later in May. Something that's very popular with residents that visitors might be interested in checking out are the ghost tours.
Oh, very cool. I might be a little scared to go do that.
They're family friendly. Every year I try to convince them to get scarier because I think it would attract a different market. Get the kids in early.
Halloween.
Yeah, and that's when they go on for a few weeks there. That's the Oakville Historical Society that puts them on. Volunteer-based organization. They do a wonderful job. Tree lightings are really popular with residents as well. So if visitors are interested in coming into town, that's a nice time of year to come in. And want to give a shout out to Kerr Village. I think it's quickly becoming a must go to destination if you like great restaurants.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I think our 3 BIAs are very special, and they're special in the fact of they have this small town charm to them, but they are seeing this transition. Speaking of Brawny, it's almost all under construction right now. It's going under a generational revitalization. There's new buildings, new shops, new stores being built. So it's going to see a little bit of a hiccup over the next sort of 30 months. But when we talk about downtown Oakville, we talk about Kerr Street. They are they have some incredible restaurants, some incredible shops, from pastry shops downtown to a Mexican grocery place on Kerr Street to, it is quite amazing, some of the things you can find and the treasures you can find down there. Some shops have been around for 50 years. Other ones are new and they're coming in, and it is a very diverse and eclectic mix of places to go and shops to explore and experiences to be had. So I would encourage anyone who hasn't been to Oakville, or even people, again, a lot of people who live up further in the north who might not venture down south too often. There is so much to do and see in our 3 BIA areas that it's really, you can be a tourist in your own town sometimes.
Yes,
and it's important to realize that. Come down for the day, have a walk, have a stroll, have a coffee, have some lunch, and enjoy yourself down here, and enjoy the waterfront and all the shops and everything that we have to offer.
Now, looking ahead, what are some exciting projects or upcoming events that residents and businesses alike can look forward to thanks to the efforts of Visit Oakville?
Well, I think you can look for our annual visitor guide that'll come out in May of this year. And that will showcase some of the events planned for the year ahead and help visitors plan their time here and help residents explore the town and be the tourist in their own town.
Yeah, I think there's lots of events too that are going to happen over the next year. There's music in the parks as well. There's cultural festivals that take place down in the Bronte waterfront area. There's many art installations that the downtown BIA does, which is fantastic. I think we've got a lot of community orientated events that we're going to be supporting as a tourism board, and really trying to promote that sort of, be a local tourist and make an experience here for everyone. So we're looking forward to that, and working with stakeholders and partners from the hotel industry to the restaurant industries to our activation partners in Oakville here. So it's going to be an exciting year for people to follow us and to visit the website and follow us on Instagram and everything. I'm showing my age now. My 13-year-old daughter has to school me on some of this stuff. But follow us and get engaged and reach out anytime to Rebecca and her team to know what's going on and how you can take part in it as well. So we're always looking to connect people and to network.
Fantastic.
And just to highlight a couple events that we hadn't mentioned, because I think we've mentioned a few already, but RibFest in June is a really popular local event and popular with visitors as well. That's June 21st to 23rd. We are working again with Latino Fest, which takes place in Bronte, July 26th to 28th, as well as CCAH on Emancipation Day picnic in August. So fantastic. A few additional events to put on your calendar.
Now, to close out the episode, we always like to give some information on where listeners can go to learn a bit more. I know we talked about the website, socials, so really just those key things. Reach out to the team and talk to you guys.
So we are located, the office is in Bronte at the harbor right now, and though it's under construction again, there's some roadblocks to get down there. But if you're around, knock on the door, see if some of the staff and the team are there. And we do have ambassadors.
We are waiting to hear but we should have ambassadors in Bronte again and potentially in downtown Oakville to assist visitors and residents during the summertime.
Incredible.
We also have a newsletter. If you go to visitoakville.com, you'll see a pop-up where you can subscribe to our newsletter, and that's a great way to stay in touch. It's published monthly. Sometimes events are planned. They're not always a calendar year out, so we are learning new things on a monthly basis that we like to share with our subscribers. And then the other sort of new element in the last couple of years is our visitor information area at the Central Library.
Okay.
So we are out in Bronte with the office, but we wanted to have a central location as well. And so we worked with the library staff to make that happen. It's self-serve, so there's not an ambassador, for example, there. But if you want to pick up maps or guides or anything like that, visit the library downtown Oakville.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, Rebecca and Sean. It's been fantastic. There is so much information packed in here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. Get out and explore town.
Thanks for tuning in to the Members of the Chamber podcast by the Oakville Chamber of Commerce. Connect with hundreds of Oakville businesses and learn more about what we do at oakvillechamber.com.